This meeting to order. John, if you call the roll, please.
Atkins.
Here.
Conant.
Here.
Crawford. Here. Darcy.
Here.
Graff.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Holford.
Here.
Hubby.
Here.
Emmett.
Here.
Jousting.
Here.
It's Jousting, sorry about that. Longfellow.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Mitten.
Here.
Newhouser.
Here.
Frail.
Here.
Rich Stinson.
Here.
Scortino. Sin.
Here.
Sundell.
Here.
Wolf. Chairman Zimmerman.
Here.
You have four.
Let me just double check. Frank or Joe, are you on the line?
Yes, I have Frank with you.
Okay. And Joe?
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with an indication of the pledge. You can all rise, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for the privilege of living in a free country where you've blessed us so abundantly. Thank you for the privilege of gathering together to debate issues. We know that you've instituted government, and I pray that we can do it in a way that honors you. Pray that as we talk about these issues tonight, that we can do it in a civil manner and in a spirit of unity, even in those issues where we may disagree. I thank you for our healthcare workers and our first responders as they deal with this pandemic. And we just know that you can be glorified in any of these situations. Thanks for our employees and those who come out tonight and are listening online. We thank them for their interest. We know you're a great God and we love you, and we pray all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I'd like to start this meeting out tonight by inviting Mayor Jeff Kaufman from Morton to just come and say a brief welcome. Thank you for your hospitality.
Well, thank you, Chairman, for the invite. And, thank you to Tazewell County. You're more than welcome to come to Morton and come back several times. It's an honor to have you here. And thank you for all you've done for Tazewell County and the work you do, and especially even the weekly meetings you're having now with this COVID-19. I know Chairman Green was there, and Administrator Woody Farrell, and I've seen the Tazewell County Sheriff Jeff Lawler there. And I have my police chief go to every meeting. I've been to several, but I can see firsthand how much more work this is for you and your staff, and I'm quite impressed with the staff we got out there. They know their jobs and their numbers, and they're very good, and they have my full respect. And that information we gather every week, so appreciate all those extra efforts, because I know it's a lot of extra efforts going on by all of us boys now. So thank you for your due diligence.
Thank you, Jeff. And Jeff does a wonderful job as mayor in our community here. Communications for members of the public and county employees, we didn't receive any on the email. Any communications from elected or appointed officials here this evening? In addition to Mayor Kaufman's welcome, I want to thank District 709 deeply for allowing us to do this tonight. It's good to see everybody's faces and not just a blank screen. Kim's up in the booth there. Thank you so much for your help. So, does anybody need the Wi-Fi password? I'll take that as a no. So, if you need it, just let me know. Excuse me. I need a motion to approve the minutes from April 24th and April 29th. Motion by Minton, second by Atkins. Any changes, deletions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes passed. We have one in-place meeting tonight, and it's finance. And Chairman Newhouser, come on up.
Chairman, so would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Newhouser.
Here.
Graff.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Sonnet. Here. Darcy. Here. Harris.
Here.
Minnick.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Minton. Here. Braille. Here. Shortino.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have just two items we need to act on tonight. The first one, item F-20-12, recommend to approve the bid for the network license renewal. Can I get a motion to get that on the floor, please? Motion by Darcy, second by Atkins. Wendy, you want to cover this quick?
Sure. This is our network and email licensing. We do this yearly. It has over the $30,000 purchasing limit, so we have to bid it. So what we are asking for is Consensus Technologies in the amount of $61,435.20. Are you going to mention? Okay. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, any questions on this recommendation?
Who is it currently with?
You would have
Okay.
Carnegie.
I think it's consensus. I think this is the second year.
It is.
That's what I wondered, if it was the same. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on this motion? We do have one minor change to make. Under the third whereas, it should say whereas the computer contract fund will be used to pay for the cost of licensing, which are appropriated in the FY20 budget, instead of what's printed, which is software/licenses. So can I get a motion to make that change, Mr. Atkins? Second by Minton. So all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And back to the original motion as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The second item, F-20-11, I recommend to approve the transfer request for court services. Can I get a motion to get that on the floor, please? Motion by Emick, second by Atkins. This is a request from Mr. Haran for some additional funds to cover the purchase of some bulletproof vests for his officers. And it is in the amount of $5,000 to transfer $5,000 from contractual services to officer safety equipment line item. Are there any questions on this transfer?
Was there more people added, or we just didn't budget enough, or?
That I'm not sure.
I'm not sure on that one either.
I mean, we need them, that's not my point, I just wondered.
Yeah, I'm not sure the reason.
It says, purpose of the transfer of funds due to not enough funds to purchase the bulletproof
Yeah,
vests.
so whether, yeah, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Any further questions on this resolution? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. And then finally, for in place, County Clerk Ackerman contacted me earlier this month. Obviously, with the COVID-19 situation and the effect on what this may look like in the upcoming elections in November, there's just a number of moving parts with regards to what we're going to do, potentially with our polling locations. Mail-in voting has been proposed or thrown out there and talked about. There's a lot of those things that are just up in the air right now. So John has done a really good job of doing some research for us, looking at what that may look like for us if we have to act and implement some of those items. But again, everything's kind of up in the air. So he asked if he could take just a few minutes tonight to share a little bit of information about each one of those. These are not action items. We're not going to take any action on them. They're for information only. But he wanted to give you the ability to ask questions, get clarifications based upon the information he has now, which we know could change tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the county clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. The first part I had was just a recap. Last Thursday, we signed a new contract with our election supply provider, Liberty Systems. I mailed that out for everybody to review. The new contract, which they offered to do, we were in a long-term contract, and he gave us the option of getting out of it and signing this new one so that we could save some money. What we will be saving is $9,000, and this starts immediately. I signed it Thursday. $9,718 each quarter. That's $38,872 every year, and $21,668 each election. It totals $116,616 over the life of this contract, which will expire in 2023. I picked that date because that is the end of the term of the current county clerk. If another county clerk would come in, they would have the option of picking the elections provider that they might wish to go with. So that was the reason for picking that date. Again, he did not have to let us out of that long-term contract. That's a huge savings we'll see this year in the budget. The cost that we know, one thing I guess I mentioned, we know these things are coming, that the law got signed, well, I'm sorry, it has not been signed by the governor yet. He has indicated he will, though, that it's been passed by both the House and the Senate, so that's why we're acting on these changes. Vote by mail, we will be required to mail out vote by mail applications to the voters in Tazewell County. There is a question mark on that right now, only because the law says that we should mail them out to anybody who voted in 2018, 2019, or in 2020. I've chosen to go ahead and mail them out, propose to mail them out to everybody. The reason for that is by the time we comb through 3 different elections, everybody who moved one house to another, within that time frame, we have so many duplicate applications going out, wasted postage. The amount that we calculated is already higher than what our actual voters in the county currently is. So after talking with the state's attorney, my colleague about it, and asking for a recommendation, for guidance, I think it would be best if we just mail it out to all registered voters currently. That's 91,567 individuals that will be receiving this. It is the application only, not the ballot. They will have to sign the application and mail it back in to us. This doesn't violate any current procedure we have in place. The cost for this is going to be the cost for this aspect is going to be $9,264. That's our current number that we're looking at. It will involve 2 different envelopes, the mail-out envelope and the return envelope. And of course, there are laws requiring a cover letter and the actual application. So that's why that cost is what it is. Our only option again on this is, do we do the 3 years or do the all registered voters? And I advise doing all registered voters. I think we'll save time and money in the long run. The actual vote by mail packets then. The most that we've ever done in Tazewell County is 2,800, over that a little bit, but 2,800 was the last presidential election. There are 2 different models that have been presented that I'm asking for guidance on. Peoria and Sangamon County, before we saw the other model, they came up with a model that predicted that half of the registered voters would vote by mail. That would be 35,000 for Tazewell County. This is a topic because I have to order these envelopes, get them printed, and by the end of this month or middle of the month, and be able to get them in time. We're looking at 3 envelopes it entails. There's a secured envelope for the ballot to go in. There is the outer envelope that goes inside of that they mail back to us. And then there's the envelope, of course, that we mail the ballot to them in. So all of those go in there. It also involves the printing of an instruction sheet that is included in there as well. Those are the kits we've always done. In the budget, we planned for our typical year, which was 3,000. We will not be a typical year, of course. The other model that was presented was the most recent election in Nebraska this past, I guess 2 weeks ago now, sorry. In Nebraska, they have not been dealing with a state that has been shut down. Their state has been open. So I present to you that the residents, this issue hasn't been in their minds as much as it is ours because we've been locked at home. In that election, they saw almost 98% vote by mail. The most ever they had was 58,000 vote by mail. That was that same election we did, the last presidential election. This election, they had 493,000 vote by mail. Only 60,000 went to the polls. I strongly recommend that we plan for the Nebraska model, which would involve me purchasing 75,000 vote by mail kits and having them ready. The reasoning for this is these kits aren't time dated, so we're still using ones from, we just ran out of ones that we were using from Christy Webb's administration. So we can continue using these for a number of years. But we get down to that last couple of weeks of the election, when everybody turns those requests in, I won't have the ability to ask the printer to print more. They're going to be focused on printing other items. If we don't have them, it'll be a black eye for us as far as we weren't prepared for what could become. I'd rather be fully prepared, over-prepared, and know that we have them for future years if we don't have them, rather than come up short. But I'm asking for your advice because this money, of course, is not budgeted. To print all 75,000, the cost, I have 2 quotes right now. The second quote we just got this evening about an hour ago. I want to investigate it a little bit further because it's so much lower, but it is from a legitimate firm that we've used in the past. That quote was $29,529. The other quote we had was for $36,749. Of course, I'll take the 29 if everything checks out. But I want to make sure that we're talking apples to apples on that. But either way, if it's 29 or 36,000, that money's not in the budget. So I'm asking for your guys' guidance on that item as well. There are a couple other items. It's okay, so I won't get lost. Can I ask? Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Okay. My question is just about, could you walk through the safety procedures with vote by mail?
Yes.
You read things and just feel concerned. You kind of talked to me a little bit about it, but I read something else. I'm not sure exactly what goes on that envelope that they mail back. I felt like there was something printed on it that might have personal information. I can't remember.
No, there's no information on that.
I'm going to have to restate the question.
Sorry.
So,
Do you want us to go to the microphone? Sorry.
So the question from Member Darcy was just to kind of further drill down and explain some of the security involved with regards to the envelopes, what's on them, what's printed. So John's going to explain that further.
Under our normal procedures, which the state law, the new one, will not change much, the resident would contact us and request a vote by mail ballot. That's the first data point that we have that goes into our database. We know that they've asked for a ballot, for an application, and we mail them the application. They then fill out the application and mail it back to us. When we receive it, that's the second data point. The individual, the employee in the office, takes them out of the ability to go to the polls and pull the ballot. They print in the ballot at that point. They put it in the envelope and we mail it to them. As long as they mail it back to us by election day, as long as it's postmarked by election day, we wait 2 weeks after the election and then count all of those that we receive after election day. So we can receive it afterwards, but it has to be postmarked on election. Well, as long as it's done that way, then that ballot is counted towards the election. There's no personal information on the outside. That's why there's a secured envelope that their ballot goes into, and then it's sealed. The only thing that's on the outside of that envelope that gets mailed back to us is if they choose not to mail it, there is on the back an affidavit where they can fill out, I give Mindy Darcy the permission to drop my ballot off while she's out in Pekin. It's all prepared. They just sign the names in there and sign so that I know Mindy Darcy has the permission to drop off John Ackerman's ballot. That's the only thing that's on the outside of that affidavit if they're having somebody hand deliver it other than them.
Cindy, is your concern also duplication? Meaning somebody be able to have 2 ballots?
Yeah, and how do we confirm that the person who applies for a mail-in ballot, that they are who they say they are? I mean, again.
Illinois is a no ID state, so we are not allowed to ask for ID at any of our early voting locations, any location on election day, or for vote by mail. So if they call in, they identify who they are, we send them the application. The only thing that we have to identify who they are is that signature, and then matching that signature to their voter ID card. That's what that employee does with that data point, that second point. The third data point then is when the ballot comes in, they're inputting the ballot and making sure that ballot signature matches. But that's the security that we have in place in safeguards. The new state law doesn't change any of that, with the exception that rather than them calling and requesting the ballot, we are automatically requesting the application, we're automatically mailing the application out to everybody. But they still have to sign the application, send it back to us, they're removed from the polls. So the policy, the procedures that are in place to guarantee that only one ballot per person were never violated, they're still there.
Sorry. What if I ask for a vote by mail, I don't send it in, I go to the poll, ask to vote, what happens?
They will turn you away at the poll and say you have to go home and get that ballot. Now, you can bring it in and vote with it in the booth, but that's the one ballot that's been issued to you. If the dog ate it or something like that, we will have you fill out, you'd have to sign an affidavit that that ballot was lost, fill out an application to go ahead and do that with the affidavit, and then you can vote that day, but we will check them to make sure that you have not filed another ballot in there. That's part of our audit that we do following the election after every election.
Mr. Harris?
What guidance were you asking for this? What were you asking the committee to do?
What I'm asking is do we want to do half or do you want to do all? I'm afraid if we do half, that I'll run out. And the printers have told me because of demand, they won't be able to print. And then I'm left with people requesting ballots. Remember, these are the same ballots too that go to nursing homes, for our military. I'll be left with nothing to give out, and there'll be a huge black eye on us.
So are you asking us to fund it also?
The funding portion of it is not in the budget, so I mean, it's just a cost that we have to incur. It's a service. We can't turn down vote by mail. It has to be provided. So it's just a cost that gets incurred one way or the other. I was asking for your guidance because it's not in the budget, which, before I exceed the budget limits, I want to make sure that...
So you're saying you don't have the money, so you are going to ask us. So the deal, I will support what we have to do to get the election done, without a doubt. But for us to give additional money, I won't support that until at the very end of this whole process. I think he's given us information that he's saving money, which will increase the dollars in his budget. I believe there's dollars there to cover it. And I believe, I would propose, or what I'd vote for, is that we wait till the end of the year, fiscal year, and check his accounts. If he hasn't given out the bonus for the election, money should be there. So then, if we need to, we can fund it.
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yeah, I would support that as well. My other question, John, has to do with this supply of ballots that you suggest we might have after we don't use them all. There is nothing on there with your name, am I correct? In all of that material, there would be nothing with your name. What I'm getting at is that, just as you said, you're using some things that Christy Webb had in her supplies yet. Did those have her name on them?
Yes.
But what would be the reason for having that?
It's the office. The
Well,
office. The name of the office is printed on their Tazewell County Clerk's office.
I don't have any problem with that. I just think it's a marketing piece if it comes with your name on it. That's just a personal thing that I...
How they're done is laid out by state statute. We can just follow state statute on how to do it. There's nothing else with an additional name on it at all.
Yeah, I just don't think that the clerk's name needs to be on it, but I think the office needs to be on it. So that it can be used however...
Yeah, and that was one of the questions I had originally asked John when he brought this to my attention. Because obviously neither one of us want to create a document or have a stockpile and then have it go to waste. So if for whatever reason he did do the 75,000 and we only used 50, well then we've got 25 to be able to use down the road, which again I don't think is a waste of money, but yet everything right now is just truly up in the air and it's tough to plan.
Well, that's just my
But
opinion.
no, that's a good point though. Okay.
I was just going to clarify as well too when we're talking about this. Supposedly, the bill does say that the state of Illinois will pay for all of these costs. It's already been brought up by many clerks. They've only got 16 million allocated for this statewide. I think when you hear by the end of the night, my costs alone are close to 100,000. I don't understand how that math is being done, but supposedly there will be grant money to pay for this. So if that's the case, I agree with you. You won't see anything at the end of the year because I'll have grant money to match whatever our expense was. Similar to how we handled the hand sanitizing supplies for the primary election. It's all paid for by grant funding later, but I can't promise you that grant fund's gonna be there, and I didn't wanna mislead anybody in that nature that that's guaranteed.
Any other questions? Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I got a question about your decision to mail them to every registered voter. I think the information is readily available. I've seen spreadsheets out of your office that show who voted in the last election. So I don't understand how you would get duplication. You just take that information and mail it to them voters. I mean, maybe I don't understand the process, but
I probably didn't explain that right. So if you lived at 101 Main Street in 2018, and then you moved to a home in Nebraska Street in 2019, you voted in both locations, under the current state statute, I would mail you one to both locations, because there is no algorithm we have to sort out to be able to pick, oh, Greg Middle's on here twice. It's well over 91,000 names we would be looking through. So we are duplicating how many we send out by people that move in the county in that time frame. When I talked to my colleague, my argument was if I just mail them to all registered voters, everybody's getting one that is currently registered in our system. And I'm not duplicating then people that have moved or maybe even moved out of the county. And I'm mailing, so I'd be mailing the former owner and the current owner both to the same address. That was the issue in which way do we go on that, and why I was picking to go with all registered voters. It's a smaller number, and it's all that are currently active.
Is this open to the whole board?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Go ahead.
You confused me, John, because I assumed that with your computer system, if Russ Crawford lived at Main Street and he moved to Nebraska Street, that you would change the Russ Crawford voter from Maine to Nebraska, and so there wouldn't be a record of me at the previous place. All you want is the current place.
We do.
And if you've done that, if we haven't done that, if we haven't purged old, then I'm really worried, even more so than I was for fraud reasons, about this new law that's passed where you mail an application, not a ballot, but to every single person, because you're mailing, hell, some people move 3 or 4 times in the same year.
Our system has, and that's why I wanted to go with just our current registered voters. But the way the law was written, anybody who voted, I'm just to take the list of voters from 2018 and mail it to them, the voters from 2019 and mail it to them, the voters from 2020 and mail it to them, and that's both elections in 2018. So
every person's gonna, I just want to drill down on this, every person's gonna get one application?
Under my recommendation, yes.
Yeah, well, I certainly will hope, I mean, I care about the whole state, but I care about Tazewell County a little more, and I'm glad you're gonna do that, but I would hope the Illinois Association of County Clerks would strongly encourage every county clerk in every county to do that.
I believe that's in the
we
works.
just have a bunch of people potentially voting multiple times, which is
I believe that's in the works.
Okay, we'll briefly cover your other couple items.
Well, the other part then, so that just covered the cost of the kits. The other part of this process then is realizing the manpower. So I mentioned to you, it's 3 different data entry points for each vote by mail application, kit that's sent out. We have 1 full-time employee. In the last presidential election, the office had 2 temporary employees. That's what's in my budget for performing this task of vote by mail. That was enough staff, barely, for 2,800 vote by mail. If we're talking about 35,000, if we're talking about 75,000, which was our last presidential election, 75,000, I won't be able to do that. We will have to bring in additional manpower. I'm presenting, we had a grant, you will remember, to replace our old computers in the elections division with new ones. We're already working on setting up new workstations where those computers can be set up for additional facilities. But I want you to know, I won't hire anybody until I have to, but I will have to, I project I will have to bring in temporary employees to process They would be election judges coming in to process all of the vote by mail if it gets to that level. Yeah.
And you're gonna ask for dollars for those, right?
No, we wouldn't have time. These numbers would start coming in 1 month.
You have a part-time budget.
Yes.
You're gonna use that?
We'll use that all up first.
Has that been touched yet?
Yes, we use that for our temporary employees for the primary election, but we just barely touched it. We didn't use anywhere near what we had had in the budget. So there's quite a bit of savings there. And like you mentioned before, we'll burn through everything we have before additional costs are added, but there will have to be additional staff brought in to cover. There's just logistically no way to do that workload. If those numbers increase to the level they are, that's a big if. I'm not here to tell you that that's going to happen. I'm throwing darts at a dartboard here. I'm just saying I'd rather be fully prepared so that there's not egg on our face when we get to a couple weeks out from the election and I've run out of supplies. Why? Well, you've had plenty of notice. Why aren't you prepared? I want to be fully prepared, so I'm just illustrating for you what some of these costs will be. And this isn't a choice I get to make. This was made for us by Springfield. It's just being passed down to us. The other item I wanted, the other item I had that exceeds our cost, and again, supposedly this could be paid for by grant money, but I don't know. For the primary election, in a rush, we hurried up and put out hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes. Barely enough, barely a minimum. It's all I could find. I was scrambling like everybody else to buy some supplies. For this election, I feel I need to buy 3 hand sanitizers minimum per precinct. That's 327 units. And 450 units, that's 5 disinfectant wipe containers per polling location. We estimate that cost at about $7,000. Again, if you tell me not to, I won't. But I feel I need to purchase these just to be prepared and have supplies out there available.
Dave, just a quick question for you. I know we submitted that application for some of these COVID-related items that were coming up.
Right.
Have they put out when they plan to respond to that, or is that just kind of in the wind right now as well?
I believe it's just in the wind. Wendy, is that correct?
Yeah, I think, I don't think they have a closing time period on it. I think because we're still in the middle of this, right? So, at this point, they kept it open, which is not how they typically do.
Right.
So yeah, so I think it will continue to go.
So there's still opportunities if something were to come up, we still have the ability to submit
Yeah,
consideration.
right, and it's 75% reimbursement is what they would do, so they require you to cover a part of it.
My question has to do with the part-time help that you're considering. Do you have a standard pay that you're going to give them per hour? Or what are you using for your rate of pay for part-time?
I'll apologize for caught me off guard with that. I don't know right off the top of my head how much my
Because
current.
I think that would be important to know. I mean, if you're going to put them into the same category as some of the people who are in your office, part-time are being paid the same pay they are.
When we bring in temporary employees, they're under that same pay rate as the part-time. I just don't remember what that
I just hope
rate
that
is.
you will consider that these are not full-time people that should be paid the same as others, especially when you're starting to figure out that the county's going to have to pay for this. But I also want to ask about the funds that you have that are your fee funds. Have you thought of using any of that with your money for this particular project?
They can't be used for elections.
Printing?
No. I can't use those for elections.
What would you use those for?
The fee funds?
Yeah, what specifically?
The recorder deeds fee fund, the largest one, setting currently a little less than 500,000. That one specifically has to be used solely for the recorder deeds office functions that involve the data input of and maintenance of those records.
Okay.
State law forbids me from using it. I could use the county clerk office one because it is available for any operation of the county clerk's office. However, that's only at $30,000, and I currently use that. That's the one I mentioned to you. Now we're not doing birth certificates anymore. It will, in years to come, there won't be anything there. It will dry up because that's a huge revenue source currently with the office. So now we're not issuing birth certificates anymore because there's not a birthing facility. We do some home births and stuff. I mean, we don't have a hospital that does births and tests.
Well, I would just like you to consider all sources.
We will.
While we're doing this, instead of just coming to us with a big bill.
No, but I didn't want to, at the end of the year, surprise you with, hey, why'd you run over? Well, I'm trying to present the complete picture of those.
Okay, thank you.
Just in closing, a few other minor things, just so you know. The new law allows me the option of putting drop-off boxes in the communities where people can drop, like